Okay, I just said just to wrap, just to say this before, just in case we didn't have TD arrive on time, but it's still going to be videoed and promoted on social network, and I felt like it's quite important, not only to acknowledge that yes, Ireland and Irish people, a majority of Irish people are actually brilliant people to mix with and everything. And I'm not taking that away as at all from this presentation, but this is a grassroots organization that we are not just taking report or research. Yes, we do, but as being a grassroots community group, like we work with people, we listen to what people say, and this a direct reaction of what have personally experienced and what I've heard other people experience as well. But it's a bit cynical, but still, it's got to be said as well. And I'm a business consultant, which is not so much profit making. I mean, there's no profit to be made right now anyway. So it's just supporting startup and migrant people starting up their business. And when you're consulting with people on that level, you can see from looking at integration from that perspective, it's probably hopeless, and unless you have a family who has money sitting in the bank somewhere or something like that, and and coming, people, marginalized people living in the even Irish themselves, it's quite difficult to get things going. And I kind of really want to raise this point so that policy that have been made are actually inclusive. They're actually looking at people in our category and putting it in, understanding that from that perspective and looking at policy that kind of include people from ethnic minority background. So this was founded by myself out of basic curiosity and research and few other things. So the background to how this led to become a community group. It was actually it was founded in 2012, but the fundamental driver behind it was a racist incident that actually happened to me around 2011, which basically landed me personally into the hospital. So it was more or less like it was, when I was studying at the time my undergraduate degree in business, and you get into society, club and society, and then there was a situation whereby one or two people kind of, it's okay to tell lies. I'm not saying it's okay to tell lie. The point here is that someone could tell lie, but when you are in a place of power, you ought to give other people the chance to hear them out. So, but in this situation, a particular person told lies. In fact, we were working as a group and everything. I had an email because I was the president of the society at the time. So everything she was writing a copy was being dropped to my email. So it was obviously a lie. But from that point onward, I felt the people in charge of that student union ought to have given me or anybody else the opportunity to clear myself before they come together and sort of bully and become racism and things like that. What we're saying here is basically that, yes, things do go wrong, but if you're in charge of power and migrants living in the country and everything, I think it is also good to actually create an opportunity to hear their side rather than just assume what the other side is saying is to be true. So so that was a racist. It was a racism incident, and eventually I end up meeting one of the the main bully few years later, and we made we solved the issues, and everything is in the past year. But the fundamental here is that there are some people who can't stand up for themselves. And if you're in a place of authority, like being a guard or anything, I think it is very important to actually do the job so that everybody could feel secure, safe, and that's how people can get integrated. Because if you don't believe in a God that is going to harass you, or what, how do you then go to a God, or so that also can add to social isolation, because you don't know where to turn to, you don't know who to speak to. So there's a lot of things, there's a lot of barriers. So that's where I sort of come into things. But out of all this, the meetup started around 2012, because we had, as it was few of us, like we had this idea, like, some of the Irish people, because we're just, most migrants are not more than 20, 30 years. So we sort of like, I sort of thought like, okay, some of those people probably didn't go to school with anybody. They don't know anybody. Just like Daddy was saying there about, the older generation not knowing that. So we sort of created a platform that every event going on within the African community. So we created a platform on meetup.com. So my expectation was to get maybe more Africans that wants to get together, professional wise. But I was actually surprised that 99% was Irish indigenous that actually signed up. There was about over 300 people that signed up to that group. So what we find is that when we, 10 or 15 people might come, or 5 people might come. So basically what they wanted is, what we created was that whenever an event in our community is happening, we put up the event on meetup.com. This is just basically to facilitate, some of the, a dialogue. So we could, one of the prime example of the social activities we took some of our members to were a movie premiere. Okay, like we were watching a movie premiere. You will see from an Irish perspective some of the way we African will, say things from our background and everything might not translate easily to an Irish person. So sometimes when we're watching the Nigerian movies or the movie premiere, they're like, what is it? What are they talking about there? So I was sort of like an intermediary person to say, oh, they are actually referring to A, B, and C. So you can see from that standpoint of an African too in this country, when an Irish person is probably chatting about something that it's, common knowledge to you guys as well, the barrier could be there that, not that some people could be born here and everything, but you just don't get it. So we sort of created a platform to get a dialogue going so that people sort of understand each other. So we did approximately 100 events over the years. We attended and we also hosted. But it wasn't just an African event, okay? So it wasn't just that. Sometimes we go to St. Patrick's Day, it's just a platform to socialize, to get people talking, getting to know each other, and that was what we did over the years before last year we officially started doing events. So as in along the years we've worked with diversity and dialogue over this year to, as a community group, Akidwa, which is a women network group, African Center. Like when I say work, I mean sometimes it's just participating in what they're doing and everything. And one of our major events last year was African Day in Minute, County Kildare. We also participated in Culture Night, which we introduced Nigerian cuisine and taste. And in fact, I was not expecting much people now. It was pretty much packed. Like I was expecting 15, 20 people, and the capacity of the room was 70. We had almost over 100 people. We had to turn people away because the room just wasn't going to fit people in there. And again, to raise awareness of people living in direct provision, we did a ladies' lunch out. This was to connect because we were eventually, the community group, now we're officially registered because we were meeting up in city center because most people, people live in different places. So we were just we centralized our meeting point to be in city center, but we're kind of officially launching it for South Dublin area. So in one of the events we did, and to get other local community organization to come out with us, was ladies lunch out. So we promoted that among some of the organization, community group in Tala. So it could be, women group, Tidy Town, Tala. So there's different organizations that some of them introduce some of their people, some of their members to attend the Ladies Lunch House. And we were trying to raise the issue of direct provision. And, the direct provision, in a sense that some people in direct provision coming out of the center, let's say they finally got their papers and they're, in economically talking integration, how do those sort of people, where do they start from? So it's just creating that awareness. And this today is Black History Month, and hopefully we like next month we have a program for social inclusion. So we're trying to coordinate people and just saw some things. So it's just something to get people interacting, integrating, and and activities to do along the side as well. So that's for next month. So we registered with PPN, which is the Public Partnership Network in South Dublin area. It's an umbrella organization, and our group is under the social inclusion pillar. So out of that, we go to meetings and everything, but I noticed that there is a South Dublin County Local Economic and Community Plan, which is starting from 2016 to 2021. And I noticed that there's no Black ethnic minority represented on that network. I was going to raise that with the TD today because, if we're not represented anywhere, how do we get included in policies? And that's where I stand. So, but anyway, the major core aims and objective of this group is, I'm just going to read it out. This is a group of individuals who comes together to promote culture, heritage, history, social entrepreneurship, integration, celebrating what we have in common and forming an appreciation of our differences. So this group was created to facilitate social inclusion and social integration among diverse group of people to meet up, socialize, and educate and inform ourselves. So that was part of African Day. The lady that sponsored the makeup event was Maria Artistry. So when I'm saying social entrepreneurship, what I'm saying is that if we're not given a platform, like for example, we did African Day last year, that created and facilitated the lady to promote herself, not just herself, but her business, and to get out there. But if everything is being done, how do we tap into ethnic minority business to promote them? If, for instance, we're on the South Dublin Migrant Integration Forum. If they kept doing all the event, we probably have photographer in the community. How do they get? We have caterers, we have different people. How do they economically profit in this? And are we engaging with those people to help them in their area of business, or is it just has to be 100% Irish serving everything all the time? How do we move forward then? So that was one of the things we did. The lady did great, and we had an artist that did great job. He's from Congo, and that was the promo video for Culture Night. So the three most pressing issues within our community, I feel security, right? We need more garda from ethnic minority background. SNA, because there's already a barrier there that you have to have Irish in order to be a teacher. We need SNA, people of ethnic minorities supporting kids like SNA role to support people with disability. How do we now engage with those people to apply if they feel so segregated, and where do they find because I know I've been to primary, I've asked some secondary school, I was there was, because my son do have special needs, and sometimes, and I asked them, I say, sometimes if you probably get an African person, my son will behave better will mind himself than an Irish person because he knows how to push your buttons. So, but that's just an example, as I said, from what I'm saying, integration is including us in, as what Bashira said, in public domain. That's how we will network. That's how we will connect with other Irish people, and that's how we build a relationship. And so, if you don't feel safe, like yesterday, yesterday I was just driving. I was gonna drop something in my church. Just I always drop one or two things over there. So I was going to church, and the Garda it was an unmarked Garda car, and he stopped me, and I was trying to, the way I was actually, and I haven't had a bad dealings with anybody for over the years. But my point here is that I was really scared. It was on Mark Garda. We were on the way to Ballyfermot, Ballyfermot, and somebody just randomly say stop, and I wasn't driving rough, and then I was like, why was I stopped? And he said, because I wasn't, I was all over the road. I was like, sorry, I don't think so. But then, you really don't know what to say, because if you say too much, you might get yourself in trouble. I was like, okay, and then he asked for this and that, but it was more in a aggressive manner, rather than in a way that is doing its job properly. I'm not saying they don't. I'm not saying there's no good Garda there, and there are amazing Garda. But I felt harassed, and I didn't think they were Garda, because they weren't on a Garda mat car. This is what I'm saying. If we don't have mix of people from different countries, how do you understand how to deal with people? How do you, I was so scared that after that, I quickly wrote the plate number to just make sure it was actually a Garda, and then went to the nearest Garda station, took the plate number to, and they did verify that it was indeed a Garda. So, that's okay anyway. But then integration, from her point of view, when we say integration, we meant full participation of both genders, whether male or female. There's still racial inequality, economic oppression, lack of presence of people of ethnic minority in civil society, public sector, politics in Ireland. So there's, if you look, I don't know, I passed around the roadmap, so which was done, with the diversity and dialogue. So there's a lot of outline of that. And in all of this, when you don't have security, when you're not integrated, you feel isolated. And then that's the result is segregation. Sometimes people don't choose to be segregated. There are some institutionalized, way that automatically segregate you anyway, which means you're excluded, isolated. Welcome. No, it's okay. And the result is it has a knock-off effect on mental health. You have, people start, getting, because you're isolated, you're not interacting. And so it has a knock-on effect on people's health. And this ought to be looked at. So I took, a picture of Rose Park, which is, it's a very good quote that I really like. It said, you must never be fearful about what you're doing when it is right. We have to constantly, as a community group anyway, put this out there, raise our voice and be heard. Eventually, if it's 5 years' time, it has to be, we found as a community group, we have to keep saying this, because at the end of the day, if I don't pave the way for my children, who will? Because they will end up going through the same thing. So, Rosa Parks, I don't know, maybe I should go into details of the history of Rosa Parks. Basically, she refused to give up her seat, for a white person in a colored section, and she got arrested and everything. But there's, I took a quote here from a book called Promoting Equality, Working with Diversity and Difference by Neil Thompson. And it says the equality of outcome, right? Even if opportunities were equal, there would still be significant barrier for many groups of people who were marginalized and disempowered in the society. If we have this institutionalized segregation, how do we then, you know, I hope the whole quote makes sense and it ties in with what I'm saying here. But that, I hope it does. So I'm just going to move forward here. And I was also, because due to, I have experience in 2011 when I landed in a hospital and everything. I think I was, I had mental health at that time as well. And I guess I was arrested at the time, but I was brutally, assaulted. So this is one of the reasons why I became an activist part of Black Lives Matter in Ireland. I have experienced it. It's not like, oh, I know that person that has done it, that it happened to. I have personally experienced it, but that was back then in 2011, and I wasn't feeling well and everything. But thank God I'm fine now. But but not to take away what Black Lives Matter, where it actually originated from. It's the hashtag Black Lives Matter was created when an 18-year-old Michael was killed by police. The stance of Black Lives Matter here, movement in Ireland, is that, we still feel that there's not enough cultural training of understanding among gods to help deal with people from ethnic minority. I'm not saying not all gods are bad. I've met amazing gods and everything. So, but we as a community group, we have to keep this going, and we definitely support the petition for the Love Not Hate petition. So so that the criminal law hate crime bills can be implemented, and we can have that fully enforced, and people can kind of be rest assured that at least there's an hate crime legislation in place and feel a bit safe. So, but again, as a Black African in, new community Irish citizen living in Ireland, the level of racism has increased intensely. And people somehow forget our hospitality, welcome given to generation of Irish Catholic in Africa. We have to constantly bring that up. We were very my generation, I'm not claiming that I was, but, our ancestors were really, well, from what we heard, were very good. And we're here and we're experiencing all of this. Again, I'm not quoting that all Irish are the same, like in that sense. So now, again, this Say No to Racism was done by Immigrant Council of Ireland, again, to raise the issue of the two black guys that was killed in America, but then to connect it back to Europe, because in Italy, a Nigerian man was actually violently attacked and killed. So Inner Ireland report also stated that Afrophobia in Europe concluded that anti-immigrant political discourse have led black migrant, refugees, asylum seekers, and black Europeans to suffer an increase in violent hatred and discrimination across all areas of life. So, again, bring it back in terms of, it could be in terms of work placement. Like, for example, when it happened to me, I was just voluntarily helping in the university. So it could be anywhere. So now, bringing it back to, this racism, discrimination, isolation, and all of that, there's huge lack of participation in employment, business startups, social entrepreneurship. I'm not going to say individual people. Some people have given up, and that's the bottom line. Some people have given up, and they go, what's the point, But our group is just to keep going and, encouraging people and empowering people that, there's a phase in Ireland and it will get better. So, and like, I feel like I'm Irish enough to say I like to rant because most people do rant. But I mean, if you don't say it, nothing will get done. Okay, so that's where we stand. And we feel Black Africans are, I mean, it's not even feeling. There was a direct quote from a report online, and I have the link. So from a research done, and it says here, Black Africans are almost 7 times more likely to report experiencing discrimination in the workplace and 7 times more likely to report having experienced discrimination when looking for work, in terms of what your name sounded like, if you don't have an European name and things like that. Challenges in starting up your home business. I mean, if somebody's coming from a 19-year-old self, they're pretty much hopeless. You know, I'm not saying they're hopeless, but it seems like it. And starting up a business, if you're foreign born and living in Ireland, unless you have some mega bank back home in Africa, I just don't know, you know, because I do business consultation with people and I see, you know, I read between the lines. So living in Ireland poses several difficulties and barriers which needs to be factored into policy development. A system needs to be put in place to support economic integration of people into Irish society. You know, such system should include a center with adequate facilities supporting entrepreneurship and talent building skills in order to help people in this category become a positive and productive citizen in Ireland. This is the key word, productive. All this ranting that I'm doing right here, it's not to have a ghetto and then come back a few years and say, oh, look at them. They heard the gangster, they're shooting, they're doing this. This, what we're doing here is to create this, that if we don't put all this in place, we will have that. We will have criminals. We will have people who want to, who knows, okay, there's barriers, there's this, what can I do? Black market, let me become something, you know. So we're just bringing this up so that people are included, even in policy making. You know, they are considered, you know. And I'm not saying there's not other Irish family in the same situation. The point here is that there's ought to be a critical evaluation of the difference and put it, and having that in building up a policy. Yeah, that's about it. And so, Black History Month, and that's one of the, you know, this, we were supposed to do this, I was supposed to do this in the very beginning. So basically what we see Black History Month as is exploring Black African and American history, cultural heritage through exhibition, books, website, and more. We did some exhibition outside already, and Sir Adenuga already did amazing presentation on Nigeria. I'm sure you missed that already. We have that video, so we circulate it around. So we had a presentation by Richard, and then we're gonna have another presentation by yourself, Sir Adekule. So thank you very much for attending.